Welcome aboard the International Hip Space Station. We hope you enjoy your stay here as we explore all of the ways to create hip space. Well, not all of the ways, two really good ways. And two ways
We'd be here all day.
We could run into an infinite number of ways to work on it. But today we're going to work on a couple that are a bit different. One of which uses a couch or a very sturdy chair. You want to make sure you can kind of push against that couch and it's not going to go anywhere. And then also a setup for hip internal rotation that can sometimes be the right thing if 90-90 doesn't feel good for you. So a good alternative there. And for that, you'll want a yoga block or a thick pillow. One of those pillows that's not going to really compress a whole lot. We're going to use a meditation pillow. You could stack up a few pillows, but you want to make sure that it's got some
A bolster would work well too.
substance. Yeah.
Firm.
Other than that, just your bod. And let's get into it, okay? So we're gonna start with some standing hip cars to kind of serve an assessment, and then we'll retest at the end. So find any standing position that allows you to sort of brace your body, feel where your body is in space, and not feel like you're gonna lose balance. So you can hold on to the wall or whatever, and then start moving that outside leg up into flexion and just hold it there to start. So we just start there and notice how much you can also add external rotation to this mix. Every time we come back here for this car, I want you to find that external rotation. All right, then from here, reach that leg out to the side. Smoothly rotate to reach your knee back and behind. And then as you explore that extension area, don't let your torso pitch forward. When your knees touch, let's go tick-tock it back in the other direction.
There's a plant back there.
Nice. Okay, navigating your space smoothly and finishing up in that external rotation again. All right, and let's wind up another rep. Keep moving with us, but at your pace. And as we keep going for another 30 seconds or so, I want you to just roughly divide up this full circle that you're making into 4 kind of quadrants. And we're going to use that idea a little later. So if it's plenty to just think of your hip car and work through that, that's fine. But if you're real familiar with the hip car, you might consider that in flexion and then out to the side, that's your first zone. Then as you move from out to the side to extension, that's your second zone. And then as you work through to touch your knees together, then you're moving into another zone, okay? And then as you go back, kind of going through those same zones, you might be saying, Will, you said there was a 4th zone, and there is. It's just hard to feel from standing. So we'll go over that a little later. Okay, so let it relax, turn around, and let's get the same thing going on the other side. Oh yeah, you have plenty of space from the wall. You can just stay in your same orientation. Bring your hip up into flexion. Add that external rotation to the mix to really get your inner thigh tissue to really fire. And then from here, reaching the knee out to the side. Smoothly tracking that arc as your knee comes around. You might brush up against the palm sitting behind you.
Tickled on your foot.
So
I would
fun.
like extra points for distraction, please.
Yeah. Hannah's a ninja level hip car expert, so she can handle some foot tickling while it's happening. Okay, and keeping that body position as sort of your primary focus. Standing is one of the harder positions because it's hard to feel if and when your spine moves. So you can see Hannah has that other hand parked on her lower back. That can give some good feedback. And just realize that the actual space that you have at your hip right now might be a little smaller than your brain thinks. So really go by feel in terms of how far you can move only your hip. All right, and finish up the rep you're on, and then relax it. Okay, so then we're going to come into a seated position. You can come right to that couch or chair that you're going to use, and we're going to do some spinal articulation from here. So usually when we say cat-cow, you're thinking, oh, hands and knees or something like that. But actually you can do it from seated as well, and that's a great one to remember for incorporating it through your workday. So really keep this one in mind. From the seated position, just create a little tension by pushing your palms into your tops of your thighs, and then focusing on the very bottom of your spine, start to curl your tailbone under. This will effectively sort of roll your pelvis back onto the seat, and that's okay. Once you feel like you maximize the stretch at the very bottom of your spine, continue finding stretch at the segments above that, working your way up as close as you can to one vertebrae at a time until you finish up with your chin on your chest. And just pause there for a moment. Scan along the whole spinal column and see, is there anywhere you can increase stretch sensation by increasing contraction on the front? Okay? Now keep that upper back rounding and that neck rounding and tune into your pelvis again, rolling your tailbone back behind you and starting that slow motion segmentation wave back up your spine. Contracting in your lower back, letting that spill over to contraction in your mid back, then into your upper back as you feel your rib cage start to open on the front, your collarbone start to reach up. And if it feels safe for your neck, you can also incorporate some extension, though that's not required at all. So just as much as feels safe. Okay, one more rep. Make sure those hands are heavy on your thighs, and then curl the tailbone under, this time making sure your chest and your collarbone stay extended as long as you can while you work through flexion at the lower segments. Taking your time, pausing at any spots that could use a little bit more awareness. Good stuff. As you finish up, take that moment to check in on keeping your upper body still as you start the motion at your pelvis. Feeling that tailbone reach behind you, but maybe this rep also feeling your hip crease tissue working to essentially pull your spine forward into extension. Letting that spill over up your spine so you're flaring open your rib cage, trying to stretch your sternum bone if that was a possibility. And then finally, maybe getting a little stretch on the front of your neck and up to your chin. Ah, yes. Good. And let that go. Okay? So just because you're seated doesn't mean it has to be a low intensity or a regressed version. It actually can be just normal training, but from a new position. Okay. So then from here, we're going to prime our tissue that we're going to work here in a moment from a side lying position. So you want to come down onto your side with a little pillow under your head, or you could throw your bicep under that head. Okay. So then from here, straighten out your top leg. And if you can, place it on the ground. If you want to bend that top knee a little bit, whatever feels comfortable for the top leg, because we're not going to be really working that leg. We're going to be focusing on the bottom leg. So from here, brace your upper body. Find that strategy with both arms that's going to really inspire contraction through your midsection. And then keeping that spot still, start to rotate your bottom thigh so that your bottom ankle moves away from the floor, but that knee doesn't move. It just rotates. Okay, and then lower the ankle and pop it back up. Okay, so just again checking in on external rotation of your bottom hip here, up and down, feeling how much you can rotate, and then trying to knock on the door of a little bit more rotation. Finding that complete stop. All right, now on the next time you rotate, finding that height, hold your heel at the maximum position, keep that rotation, and start trying to draw your bottom knee away from the floor to fully contract the inner thigh tissue, maybe flirting with a cramp for 3, 2, 1. Melt down the knee, melt down the ankle, and let your body rest for a moment. Okay? We're going to do that hold just 2 more times, then we're going to go over to the other side. So again, we're really trying to establish the connection between your brain and those inner thigh tissues. So brace again. Rotate your bottom thigh, hold that highest rotation, and then try to pull your knee away from the floor without letting your pelvis or spine rotate at all. 3, 2, 1, and set it down, melting away. Okay? And just as you're resting here, your body is gonna try to do that when you lift your knee. Okay? So on this rep, brace your body. You can move with us. Rotate that bottom thigh, find that maximum lift, As you start to lift your knee, try to pull your knee and your pelvis on the opposite side towards each other. Get even more of that near cramp sensation for 3, 2, and 1. Melt it down. Okay, so you're not going to be in this position anymore. We'll switch over to the other side, but you might feel that cramp come back a little later in that class. Okay, so something to watch out for.
Something to look forward to.
All right, so on this side, you just scooch back a tad towards the couch. All right, and straighten your top leg here. Setting it on the floor. You could even put a block under that top foot if you'd like. And then your bottom knee is basically right out in front of the hip socket. Okay, and just warm up that external rotation of your bottom thigh, feeling how much you're able to rotate. You might find that you have a lot more than Hannah. The ankle comes up over maybe the knee. You might find that from here, you're barely able to get that ankle off the ground. Either way, you're going to be talking to the tissue that rotates your thigh, and that's the goal. All right? And on your next rotation, go ahead, park that ankle as high as you can off the floor, really working for that rotation. And then keeping your body still, start to draw that knee away from the ground while you hold the rotation for 3, 2, and slowly melt the knee down and then the ankle. Good, okay? Rep 2 of 3, brace your body. Rotate your bottom thigh. Then pull that knee and thigh away from the floor, really talking to those inner thigh tissues. 3, 2, 1, slowly lower. All right, and your final rep here for this movement, brace, rotate your thigh, and then hold on to as much of that rotation as you can as you pull the knee away from the ground. Maximum effort, 3, 2, 1, super slow melt down. Very nice. Okay. So now we're going to move into the first of our sort of stretching positions here. And here's where you're going to want to move to face your couch. Now, this will be a little surprise for Hannah, but you actually want to put your pillow under your knee here, your non-working knee, because we're going to be in half kneeling, and it's kind of can be distracting if that position's tough for that knee. So go ahead, throw that pillow under. And then with your front leg, this is going to be your working or your stretching leg. You want to cross that leg across your body kind of as far as you can, and then walk your foot even further in that direction. And as you do, you'll notice that you're basically taking your thigh into some external rotation, all right? And that's the goal. We're trying to get into externally rotated position. And then work your body forward or walk your body forward so that your shin or your knee, hopefully your shin would feel a little better, is in contact with that couch, and it's really stable. It's not going to go anywhere. There's no wiggle room, okay? Then from here, you can wind up the stretch. It'll be in the back pocket area of this hip, also known as the butt. And you can increase the stretch in that area by thinking of lifting your tail feathers.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe, if it's open to you, walking your hands over to the side and pulling your body into a little bit more of that twist or that rotation. Okay, so really a moment to go by feel. While Hannah hangs out in this passive stretch, I'm going to show you this same setup from straight ahead so you can get an idea if you're having some trouble. We're basically walking that leg across, walking the foot further, and then winding up the stretch by turning the body in the opposite direction. Okay, so you're just going to cut that leg across. And wherever you get to, wherever it feels like end range, you want to make sure you're blocking your shin against that non-moving piece of furniture. Okay, so take a few more deep breaths, trying to breathe new air into this tissue that's stretching. And then as you release that breath, feel that that tissue actually releases a little bit as well. So inhale to stretch. Exhale to relax into the stretch. Good. Very nice. Okay. So now commit to keeping this body shape as we start to engage some isometric training. Very lightly at first, we're going to brace the midsection, just making your hands heavier. Feel your torso stiffen up without anything moving. And then you're going to start making your front foot, that working foot, heavier into the ground. Like you're trying to pull the floor across your body. Add to that the feeling that your shin gets heavy into the couch, and you're trying to push the couch across your body. As you do those tasks or ask for those tasks, you should actually feel the stretching tissue start to turn on. So kind of micro adjust that ask of your body so that you're really contracting right where you were just stretching. And then let's start to build the intensity. So ramp that effort up to 30%, 50%. And if it feels good and safe to keep building it up to 75%. Okay, so this should feel like real significant effort for you. Just 10 more seconds of holding this pales contraction. Okay, breathing around braced body. 3, 2. Now keep your brace, keep your position, but try to switch to pulling your shin away from the couch and making your foot lighter on the ground. Good. Your hands are really important here to provide brace so that you can pull that leg away from the couch. It's not going to move away from the couch, but keep trying to lift it away from the couch for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Melt back into this stretch. If you can, try to stay in this position. If you need to micro adjust or even come out of it, totally fine, and just come back and join us. Okay? Just a quick note that sometimes you'll get a closing angle pinch right in the hip crease and also into the inner thigh area. If that's you, you'll just want to turn your body away enough that you clear the pinch, and then the strength training work is still really important and valid for you. So just make sure you're not actively working in a pinch. Okay? Let's do one more set, a little shorter, a little spicier if it feels good to do that. All right, so finding the stretch, that's your target as we start your pales contraction. Front foot gets heavy into the ground, shin starts to push into the couch, and then both the shin and the foot try to drag across your body, but they're blocked. So they can't move, but you're pushing against that floor and against that couch. Ramp this up smoothly up to 50%. Keep building percent by percent up through 70, 80, 90. And finally, your greatest safe effort. Really turn it on here. 5, 4, 3, 2. Keep your position. Keep all this work, but switch to your rails, trying to pull your shin away from the couch and your ankle away from the floor. 10 seconds, maximum effort, rails contraction. 5, 4, 3, 2, and super slowly melt that away. Good, okay? Very nice. As you come down off of that tension, slowly make your way out of this position, being kind to your body, because we were just working at the outer edges of the hip universe. I'm gonna keep the space puns coming, all right? And then we're gonna set up for the other hip when we're ready. Yeah. When we're ready. So now switching over to the other leg, you'll step that working leg forward and cut it across your body, and then walk the foot even further. Okay, and then when you do that, you'll need to kind of take up the space and walk your body closer to the couch. All right, and we're in hip external rotation and adduction. And then we're gonna target that stretch on the back pocket area by twisting the body a little bit, maybe walking the hands over, okay? And finding a nice stable base position from which to work. So if you feel sketchy or unbalanced or anything, it's gonna really work against you when we start to contract. So it's worth it to take that time and really get solid feeling, really feel supported. All right. So a couple other cues all throughout there to target that stretch as you're just deeply breathing and trying to settle deeper into your hip range here. You can think of lifting your tail feathers. You can also think of trying to pull that thigh bone kind of back into the very back of that hip socket. That's sort of similar to the tail feather lift cue, but a little bit different, and it can sometimes help you target even deeper in the joint. Okay. Good. Take one more deep inhale, relaxing into that stretch. And then let's start ramping up a Pale's contraction very lightly at first. Start making your foot a little heavier into the floor. Start pressing your shin into the couch, kind of across your body. And then add to both of those tasks, the foot getting heavier, the shin getting more pressured into the couch, and starting to really talk to those tissues that were just stretching in your back pocket, and try to send more and more energy there as you build this intensity up to 40%, 60%, noticing how the rest of your body has to play along so that you really don't move, and smoothly up to 75% if that feels safe. Holding here, 75%. A significant effort, but you're still able to think and focus. Good. 3, 2, keep your position, keep your brace, and shift over to that rails contraction. Ankle trying to get light on the floor. Shin trying to pull away from the couch, more across your body. Holding this and really flirting with the cramp you might feel in your inner thigh crease area for 3, 2, 1, and melt again into that stretch. Very nice. Yeah, hard work. Looks like maybe nothing going on from the outside, but especially when you know how to engage those contractions, it can be really, really mentally demanding. So give yourself that credit. All right, round 2. Settling into the stretch, that's your target for your first contraction as you start to make your ankle heavy and your shin pressed into that couch. So you're ramping that up. You're thinking of drawing that shin across your body, into the couch, as you steadily increase this Pale's contraction up to 50%, and then 60%, 70%. Always asking your body if it's ready and feeling safe to build on. If it is, keep going, up to 80%, 90%. And if it feels safe, go ahead and add on to your greatest safe effort, holding that. 5 seconds of all-out effort here. 3, 2, 1. Spend all that effort now for a rails contraction. Switching to making your ankle lighter, making your shin trying to draw away from the couch, and really using your upper body strength to help you do this hip action. 5 seconds, team. You got this. 3, 2, 1, and slowly melt it away. Ooh. Okay, once you're back down to 0, take your time. Come on out of this setup. Be kind to yourself, okay? And we're gonna come down into a seated position. So we've magically disappeared our couch, but you can keep, you can stay right in front of the couch because it'll be helpful to lean back against. A wall works as well, but you just want something that you can really relax your back against here for this next setup. So now we're gonna switch gears and focus on internal rotation of your hip. So for this one, you're gonna want that nice thick pillow or yoga block, and you're gonna start by just leaning over onto your left hip. Really just lean over this way. That should give you space to bend your right knee to about a 90-degree angle, and then put that pillow underneath your knee or thigh, and here's where you really want the thigh and the knee to feel supported. This is a great setup for the hip, but sometimes can be a little bit tough on the inner knee, and we've found that the more supported the knee feels, the less angry it is. Funny how that works, right? Okay. So then once you're here, to really finish winding up the hip, there are a couple adjustments we want to make. First, you want to curl your tailbone under, like you're starting that cat-cow. So you're really giving your hip lots of space and you're clearing any pinching at the front. Once you curl the tailbone under, you might feel like, oh, I want to scooch my butt even further away from the wall, further away from the couch, okay? Then finally, you will wind up the end of this rotation by slowly sitting your butt towards the floor. You might get your butt all the way to the floor. It might be a tiny little motion or adjustment that you're making, but the goal is to get that twisting sensation deep in the hip, okay? As you settle in and find that sensation, just take some deep breaths and start committing to really trying to hold one position. When we do isometrics in particular, it really benefits us to stay put and really focus in one area. That way, our work is really going where we want it to go. It's being specific. So taking a big inhale, targeting that tissue that feels tight, and then letting the air go and letting the tension in the tissue go as well. Taking a couple more breaths. Okay. Now as you finish up and really settle into this stretch, I want you to see if you can reach one or both hands onto the outside of your knee on that working side. Yeah, there you go. So if you need to micro adjust at all, that'll be really helpful. And we're going to start our Pales contraction here. So very, very lightly at first, just start feeling that unwinding of your hip. That'll mean your ankle starts to get a little bit heavier. Yeah, Hannah's showing that rotation if you're a little confused. So find that rotation first, only about 5% effort. And then as you start to increase that rotation, you want to make sure, again, your body stays put. So you might feel that your hand and your knee start to pressure into each other, almost like your knee is trying to come up away from the pillow, and your hand is there to block it. Okay? So the heavier your ankle gets, the more your knee and your hand pressure are going to increase, and the result will be a real rotational torque on the hip joint. So go ahead and ramp that up smoothly through 30%, 40%, 50%. And here, check in that you're pushing with your ankle, but now also your toe, the toe on that side. That might change how much you're able to talk to in the hip as we continue building to 60% and 75%. That's where we'll pause here on this first set. Really constantly trying to rotate that thigh, but the floor is in the way, and that hand is blocking the knee, helping create that torque. 3, 2, and just melt that Pales contraction away. Okay? Now, for this position, for the rails contraction, we're going to actually try to ramp the rails contraction as well. It's a little bit harder to feel usually. So now the direction we're going to try to rotate is going to be to make your ankle lighter on the floor. So Hannah, if you just mind kind of showing that. Yeah, perfect. And as you get that ankle feel of lightening on the floor, it's not going to lift, but you're still trying to make it lighter and lighter. It will help you if you can also make your knee heavier into the pillow. So again, we have that kind of torque on the hip, now in the opposite direction. Keep ramping this up. You can ramp it a little smoother and find your greatest safe effort. So take the time you need, about 10 more seconds. Keep trying to add tension, add contraction, flirting with a cramp if you feel it, and really getting serious. You're trying to lift your ankle away from the floor, but it's just not going to move. So you're trying. 3, 2, 1, and melt it away. Very nice. Okay, round 2, shorter and spicier. You cramping?
Oh, it's like on the dismount.
On the dismount. So let's go right into another Pales because that'll actually, I think, clear the cramp a little bit. So hand right on the knee. Okay, and gently start pressing that ankle, but now also your toe into the floor. As you get a feel for that twist at the very deepest parts of your hip, block the knee with your hand. and start increasing both. Ankle getting heavier, knee trying to come up more. Use that to ramp up this pales contraction to 50%. 60. If it feels safe, keep building up to 70%. 80%. Feeling like you're using that ankle to pull the floor across you, up to 90%. And now your greatest safe effort here. Really trying to engage all of the tissue in your body for 3, 2, 1. Keep your position. Keep your brace if you can, okay? And then switch to rotating your thigh in the other direction. So that ankle is trying to get light, the knee is pushing down into the pillow. Your whole body is lit up, trying to rotate the thigh into more internal rotation. 10 seconds, flirting with that cramp if you can find it. Getting your whole body involved. 3, 2, 1, and slowly relax it. Okay, once you're down to 0, take your time, lean over and get that leg free. All right, so for this other side, you're gonna lean over on your right hip, place that pillow under your left knee, okay, and just whatever's comfortable for the leg that was just working. You can kind of sit out in front of you or whatever, little dead leg, okay. And then curl your tailbone under, yep, so you buy some space at the hip, scooching away from the couch or the wall. And then micro adjust your way into this end range by dropping your butt towards the floor. Okay?
Whatever face I just made, I'm really selling it here.
You feeling it? I was just thinking, Hannah's like basically able to sit down to the floor here because she's got tons of internal rotation. I am not so much. I end about there. So wherever.
For what it's worth, I don't feel like I'm at the floor.
Okay, yeah. So it's just to say that you might be here, you might be like almost leaning over towards your foot. Again, wherever that ends up, that's your end range, so that's where you should work. Okay? So taking a few breaths to just chillax into this position. Good. Really taking that time, taking that focus to start at 0. Start at a place where your body is really calm and supported. Focusing on the sensations that you're feeling. If you feel your mind wandering, just try to gently bring it back to the sensations here in your hip, in your back, in your knee. Feeling that breath come in and out of your body and trying to let tension go with every exhale. Okay. Now, make sure that you can reach a hand to the outside of the knee or outside of the thigh because that will help with our blocking. And then gently start pressing your ankle or even your whole foot into the floor and use that as a way to start feeling that twist or that unwinding that we're going to go for this pales contraction. As you ramp it up, notice that your knee's trying to sneak away from the pillow, but you're keeping it blocked. Gradually ramping this up in intensity up through 40%, adding on to 50%, maybe making your way up to 60% if that feels good, and then keep going to about 75%. So a significant effort again, really muscular, you're feeling your whole body involved, but you still have awareness, you can feel what's happening. Holding this 10 seconds. Staying steady with your effort. And then smoothly ramp down that contraction back to 0. As you do, you might feel that you can settle into more range. You might feel that that's not available. Either way, just notice. Okay? And now we're going to ramp up our rails contraction. So bracing your body to make sure your spine stays still. Start asking your ankle to get lighter on the ground. Not actually trying to lift it, but just make it lighter. So it's still on the floor and you're finding that rotation. Yeah. Okay, keep thinking rotation as you make your ankle lighter and your knee heavier into that pillow. Up to 50%. And as that becomes clear, feel if you can keep building. Keep asking for more rotation, getting more of your body involved with that rotational ask, and finding your greatest safe rails contraction. 10-second hold. Maybe flirting with a cramp. Maybe just searching for those contractions. 3, 2, 1, and slowly melt it away. Good. Okay. This second set, we're going to go right from the pails into the rails. I kind of surprised you last time, so this time we'll...
Thanks for the heads up,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah, sorry. Okay, so brace your body. Let's start that pails contraction. Foot getting heavier into the floor. Knee trying to lift up, but you're braced against it with your hand. And continue ramping up that pails contraction, making the foot heavier, the knee pressing up harder, up through 50% effort, 60, 70%, and then keep going if it's available for you, up to 80% and further to your greatest safe pails contraction. Really pushing against those immovable objects. Pushing, pushing, pushing for 3, 2, keep working this hard, keep your body shape, but switch to rails contraction. Your foot is now trying to float away from the floor. Your knee is trying to press down into that pillow more. You're trying to rotate your thigh bone in that hip socket. Nothing in your body moves. You're just trying to rotate more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Let your body's contraction come back down to 0. And then once you're feeling at 0% effort, then make your way out of it. So we make such a big deal out of that because so many classes we've led, people will finish their pails rails and then just get right out of it. It can be a little jarring for a joint that was just exploring the edge of the universe. So take your time, okay? All right, so now make your way into quadruped position, modifying as needed. So you could put your forearms on that couch that you were working on, or just come to the floor, hands and knees. All right, so here's where we're going to be working our hip car, but only one zone at a time. So basically we're doing quarter hip cars. We will do all 4 quarters, but we'll break it up, don't worry, okay? So this first one is kind of the hardest to feel. So we're going to be, let's all work together on the right leg. Bring that right knee into your left knee, okay? So you're bringing that knee across your body, similar to what we were doing against the couch a second ago. And really turn on the intensity of knee pressure into your inner thigh and use that to inspire contraction in the rest of your torso. Hands are heavy. And now the motion is going to be from that inner thigh area on your left leg, up behind you, noticing your knee moving a little away from your midline, but just pausing when you can't lift your knee any higher. That's where we stop and go forward to try to scrape that knee into the other thigh. Okay, now just relax for a second. That's the shape that we're making. When you're in quadruped, you're sort of limited by how far over you can go by your other knee. So we're gonna just widen the knees a little bit and see if you can reach your knee over across your body a little more, okay?
Delightful.
So come back into quadruped, walk the knees out a little wider, maybe a little wider than your shoulders, and then brace up strong so you can slide that right knee across and try to make contact with your left thigh without letting your pelvis or belt buckle turn. And then let's keep working here. Up to extension, back to adduction, to your other leg. Back and forth, pelvis staying still, and you're just exploring this zone of adduction to extension and back. Good. Trying your best to not let that leg move out to your right at all, but just behind you and then back towards your left thigh. 10 more seconds, working hard, really talking to those inner thigh tissues and the back of the thigh tissues for 3, 2, 1, and excellent. Very nice, okay? Give the wrists a break. I'm gonna have Hannah turn just so you can see her left leg working, and let's now work on the left side. Same drill, okay? Working hard. So this one, we kind of know where we're going. So let's start by walking the knees out wide, brace your body, and then draw that left knee across, trying to touch the knee to your right inner thigh. You might make it, you might not. And then from here, we reach up into extension. I love it. Good. And then when you hit end range extension, can't reach the knee any higher, then you bring it back. Reverse course. Try to touch that knee to your inner thigh. Good. 20 more seconds working back and forth through this quarter hip car. And really tune into your torso staying stable. Hannah's doing this awesome, but it's very easy to start pretending that you're doing this motion by moving your spine. So keep your torso still. Final 5 seconds, moving at your pace from extension to adduction and back, and relax. Okay. So we're going to give the wrists a little break to explore another zone of the hip. This time you'll come back down onto your back. Feel free to throw a pillow under your head if that feels good, or anything else to support your upper body. And let's use the floor as a reference here. So flatten your lower back out against the ground. And now we're going to explore adduction with the leg coming across into flexion when your knee comes up towards your chest. So sort of this zone of your hip car. Again, your other leg can get in the way, so just straighten that knee a little bit or walk it out to the side. Yep. And then start with your knee on the right leg, the working leg, right up to the ceiling. So we start by just lifting that knee. Draw that knee across your body as much as you can and externally rotate as much as you can. So just like we were doing in the standing hip car. This is our start and end point. Then draw that thigh bone up to your chest as high as you can before your knee starts going out to the side. That's your stop sign. Bring it on back. Good. So this might feel like a very small movement, but we're moving from adduction end range to flexion end range and back. See if you can feel that as a piece of the pie, just a quarter of that circle of your hip car. Keep working on that quarter hip car, 15 more seconds. How much tissue can you feel that pulls your leg into these positions? How still can you keep your back on the floor for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice work.
Is this the 4th quarter?
This is the 12th quarter. No, just kidding. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other side. You can just walk that right foot a little further away, maybe a little out to the side. Flatten your back out against the floor, and then left knee points straight up to the ceiling. Externally rotate that thigh, and then cut that knee across your body line. Might feel like a joke, but actually, I think that indicates that you're really clearly tuning into that movement. So it's all right if you're not finding a lot of movement. If you're feeling clarity about the ask, that's the win here today. Moving up to flexion and then back to adduction, trying to fight for that external rotation of your hip the whole time. Good. Just working on and improving that 1/4 of your hip car. Good stuff. Final 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and melt it down. Okay, good.
Woo.
All right, 2 quarters down, 2 to go. All right, come back into quadruped. Now we're going to work at a little different position. So just watch so Hannah can kind of show what this first one's going to entail, and then we'll jump into it. You're going to start in end range extension, so driving that heel behind you. That's our start and end point. And then from here, you're going to drive that knee and shin out to the side as far as you can until you get roughly straight out to the side. So keep going, Hannah, keep going, keep going. So you're like showing your inner thigh to the floor, and then pause and cut it right back. Yeah. So you can relax. So
I did it anyway.
yeah, there's no real way to do that with low intensity. So if you start this and you just work on it for 10 seconds, that's great. As you come back, see if you can add time. This is a really demanding movement for your body. All right.
It's like the lost corner of the hip car.
Oh, so much. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so make your way into that quadruped. Brace up your torso so that nothing's going to move as you drive your right heel behind you, lifting that right knee, keeping your back still. And then from here, 30 seconds, carving out that quarter of the hip car out to the side, back into extension. Good. Realizing that most of the work might be felt in the non-moving parts of your body, and that is great. Keep working there. Keep your body still and just see what's available at this hip. 10 more seconds. Good. If this is feeling solid, can you cramp any tissue in that right hip? 3, 2, 1, and melt it down.
Almost got a butt cramp.
Almost got a butt cramp, okay? Other side. So prep. Hands get nice and heavy on the floor. Come forward just a little bit for the camera. Okay, and drive that left heel now behind you. Finding that starting spot, and here we go, 30 seconds. Reaching the knee out to the side, trying to show your inner thigh to the floor, and then reversing course, lifting that heel, and finding extension. As you go back and forth, do your best to lean on that left hand more than your right hand. So your body isn't falling away from this movement, but you're actually almost leaning into that left leg. Really staying tight and staying braced. 10 more seconds. You got it. Can you get any more contraction out of your glute or hamstring? What about your side glute, the side of your hip? 3, 2, 1, and relax wherever you're at. Awesome. Now you get to come onto your back. Lovely. Okay. So now we're to the fourth quarter. We're to that final zone. So this zone is going to be from end range flexion. So do this just easily so you don't spend too much here just to show them. End range flexion. You might have more or less than Hannah's showing here.
Make
FYI.
sure there's no pinch.
No pinch. And then from there, we're going to be working out to abduction, that position when your knee's out to the side. And actually keep going a little further, Hannah, so that, yes, it's like the knee is right out to the side of the hip socket. Maybe even the heel touches to the floor, okay?
Just make sure you aren't rolling off your other butt.
Yeah, so this is where the floor as a reference point is huge to make sure that your lower back and pelvis are grounded to the floor the whole time. The only other thing I will say is that you might move a little slower than Hannah, and that's all right if you just want to carve your way through this. Okay, so brace your body, back is flat. Pull that knee up towards your chest as close as you can without pinching at the hip. And then here we go, 30 seconds, reaching your shin away from your midline, away from your belly button. And then keep that motion going by bringing your heel maybe to touch the floor, but not relaxing it. And then bringing it back, knee to chest. So this is that final quarter. See if you can feel it as like a one segment of the circle. Trying to really hone your understanding, fill in any gaps, connect to any new sensations to be found here, new tissues to involve. 10 more seconds, spending whatever you have left to try to really own this quarter of your hip. 3, 2, 1, and relax it. Nice, okay? Take a breather. We're gonna switch angles so you can see the moving leg. You can stay put. And then same thing on this side. So flattening your lower back. Thinking through, okay, I'm gonna start at end range flexion, knee to chest, finding that pinch-free amount of flexion. Your knee is going to try to move out to the side already, so make sure you're really just moving up towards your chest. And then we start braced, reaching that shin away from your midline to open your inner thigh to the ceiling. And then keep going until you feel like your knee is straight out to the side and maybe your heel taps the floor. And then you control your way back into flexion. Good. As you go back and forth, only reach that knee out as far as you can while keeping your back flat. No need to go into the range that you don't have control over. You want to only move through that range that you can control today. Last 5 seconds. And relax. Good. Okay. So take a breather. We're going to retest your hip car. But before you do, I just want you to notice, I'm hoping you are using some really high levels of tension, and that's really good idea for training your body, getting your tissue to change. But there's also a huge benefit to working cars at a much lower level of intensity. Sometimes we describe this as how much movement can you get for a minimum of effort. And that's really useful for day-to-day life as well. So as you come up to standing and you do your final hip car, I actually want you to do that style. How much motion can you get through that hip with a minimum amount of effort? Maybe just 10 or 15%, okay? So let's retest with that. So find your standing position, whatever you're choosing. A little lightheaded, yeah. Take your time, feel grounded, feel balanced. And then just 30 seconds on whatever leg you'd like to start with is fine. Moving it up into flexion and external rotation. And then keep your intensity level at only about that 10 to 20% effort as you move through your hip car. Tap the knees together and reach back into extension. So we're just tick-tocking back and forth. Good. Moving smooth, 10 more seconds, noting whatever is different or changed, or any familiar sensations. Great. And let that side go. Take a breath, and let's wind up the other side. Brace your body, leg comes forward into flexion, add that external rotation, and off we go. Good. Rule 1 is that your body stays still as that leg moves. So keeping that body nice and tall, feeling that independent motion of this hip. Ten more seconds, team. Good stuff, and relax. All right, great work. Really demanding class here, so nice job. Give yourself a pat on the back, and let us know any questions that came up for you. We'd love to talk through them with you.